Hello students, the NEET PG exam is right knocking at your door. I am Dr. Sudha Sitaram, and in this short video, I will try to give you a few tips as to how to avoid negative marking in the NEET PG exam. Now see, you are all been preparing hard for the exam, but the rank that you will get depends not only on how much you read, how much you revise and how much you retain, but also on what is the strategy that you adopt on the examination day. So how well you do that paper really decides the result of these months of hard work that you have put in. And negative marking is something which can really make a huge difference in the rank. So see, from what I have learned from my own mistakes as a student and from my interaction with students as a teacher for so many years, I will just try to give you a few tips. So tip number 1 is that before attempting any question, read the question carefully twice. Even before you go to the options, read the question carefully twice. I'll tell you why. Because see, there are like some key words in the question. If we read it fast, there is a chance that we might miss it. For example, words like except, words like not. So suppose there is a question which says false about vernal keratoconjunctivitis except, or true about fungal corneal ulcer except. All these are true. Which of the following is not true about retinitis pigmentosa? So see, this word except or this word not is actually the crux of the question. If you miss that, you're going to get the answer wrong. So read the question carefully twice before proceeding to the options. Right? That is tip number 1. Second, read all the 4 options carefully. Don't be trigger happy and mark the first answer which appears correct to you. Right? So read all the 4 options. Again, there is a reason for this. Suppose you read a question, you read the options and one option appears right to you and you just mark it. See, sometimes there may be 2 options which are like very close and you may be expected to choose the better of those 2 options. So you have to read all the 4 options before you decide which option to mark. And also there is a possibility that the last option, that is option D, is all of the above, which means all the options are correct. So until and unless you read all the 4 options, do not decide on the answer. See, these things seem very, very obvious, but when we are stressed, we tend to make these mistakes and we get negative marks. So read the question twice carefully before proceeding to the options. Read all the 4 options before you decide on your answer. Right? Tip number 3. See, we are extremely stressed on the day of the exam. So when you are doing your first run through of the question paper, attempt only the questions of which you are 100% sure. Like there will be a large percentage of questions which will be direct repeats, there may be indirect repeats, something where the answer you are 100% sure. Mark those questions in the first go. So now once you have gone through the entire section, you have marked the questions that you know, then your brain becomes a little relaxed. You feel good that you have attempted so many questions confidently, and when the anxiety level comes down, automatically we start functioning better. So after you have this in your kitty, then you try attempting the questions there where you have to think or where you have to figure out. So on the first go, do the questions which you are 100% confident about, and do not spend too much time thinking about questions which you don't know the answer. Come back to them in your second reading. This is tip number 3. Number 4, which is perhaps the most important, that is the strategy to attempt the questions that you do not know. Because there are, however much you study, however much you revise and retain, there is going to be a sizable number of questions for which you will not know the answer. You will have to figure it out. Right? Now in this part, where you don't know the answer, there will be 2 types of questions. One will be factual question. Like for example, if there is a question, Stalker's line is seen in. Now this is a completely factual question. Either you know it or you don't know it. If you do not know it, then I don't think it is advisable to blindly mark one out of the 4 options, because if you don't know this factual question, you have to take a blind guess out of the 4 options, and that is usually detrimental because there is only 25% chance of getting it right. So you have more to lose by attempting this kind of a factual question about which you know nothing. So it's probably better to let go of that question. Right? Now the other set of questions to which you don't know the answer are the kind of clinical based questions or the case based questions, where it is given a patient presents with this, he has this is the investigation, this is the clinical image. So a lot of information is given and then you have the options. Now in these, it is possible to figure out, because this is not factual, it's about application. So when you read the question a couple of times carefully, when you look at the image, usually you will be able to exclude some options. Now if you are confidently able to exclude 2 options, then you can take a calculated risk and take a guess out of the remaining 2 options. Right? So read the question carefully, try to eliminate at least 2 options. So once you have eliminated 2 options, then look at the other 2 options. If you are able to eliminate one more, fine. If you are not, then take a calculated risk and guess, make a guess out of the remaining 2 options, which you know that the answer will be out of these 2 only. Then see, you have a 50% chance of getting it right. So you have a higher chance. So don't make a blind guess out of 4 options as in a factual question, because I don't think that really works. What works is try to spend more time on these case-based questions where you can figure out by application, exclude 2 options and then take a calculated risk. Okay? And the last point which I would like to emphasize is we always function better when our mind is alert and the stress levels are like low. So now it's not possible to decrease the stress in an examination which is so important to us, but it is possible to calm your brain so that you are in your best frame of mind during the examination. So for this, it is important that on the day before the exam, do not overload your brain, do not read too much on the day before the exam. On the day before the exam, try to read those things which, see, by now all of you must have compiled like sticky notes, small tables, you must have written small things in your copies, things which are volatile and which you tend to forget again and again. Just look at those things on the day before the exam. Don't try to revise everything, all questions, everything. It's just not possible. So do not read on the day before the exam. Sleep well so that your mind is alert and you are in the best frame of mind when you go for the exam, because the more relaxed we are, the better we tend to do, and the more tensed we are, and if your brain is tired, it is difficult to recall things, and also it is very difficult to apply whatever you have learned to questions which require application. Right? So I hope these few tips will help you to do well in your exam. All the very, very best, and I hope that all of you will do well in the exam and you will get into a branch that you desire. Thank you.